Alright. Tommy Robinson, the leader of the EDL, has recently left the organisation that he helped to bring into the public eye alongside his right-hand man, Kevin Carroll.
Mm-hmm.
The story is that he was convinced to leave by the counter-extremist think tank, the Quilliam
Foundation.
Yeah. And this has sort of spawned speculation as to where the EDL is headed next, whether it's going to collapse entirely or whether it's going to splinter into numerous different organisations, which we've already seen from the far right numerous times in its history since the Second World War.
Mm-hmm.
So what do you make of this story? What do you...
I think, well, they're saying that the EDL has been decapitated.
Right.
And in terms of representatives in the media and on the political stage, Tommy Robinson or Stephen Yaxley-Lennon, which is his real name, and I think somebody needs to delve deeper into why he changed his name to Tommy Robinson, but that's a side note.
The reasons that people have suggested is that he has been convicted on various other charges, and that's why his name has changed. But there's the story that he gives is that the name that he was given, obviously, is one of the names is taken from his dad, who I think he's now estranged from. I think that's the line that he usually spins, but most people think it's to do with the convictions.
Oh, okay. See, in my ignorance, I just thought it was him trying to make himself seem like a more normal person.
Lennon, I think, is an Irish name. So,
how disgusting. Just for anybody, I have Irish heritage, so I'm allowed to say that. Are they, as the media said, decapitated? Or do you think that because I don't think that it's going to splinter. I think that they are just going to find another charismatic person to stand behind. Because it doesn't seem like the suggestions that have been heeded from the top are necessarily going to trickle down into the base.
It's strange when you think about it that a lot of the coverage that we get of organisations such as the BNP and such as the EDL is very focused on the leadership, which I guess in a way does mirror the coverage that we get of political parties. But it means the media needs to find someone new to kind of interface with before they know what is happening inside this organisation. But I mean, it could be that the reason he left has a lot more to do with internal friction within inside the group, but the reasons he gave were that he didn't think street protesting was effective anymore and that he wanted to go and do something a bit different, but he didn't give much indication as to what that
So
might involve.
he said that he didn't want to be involved in like the street protesting and the violence anymore. Ironically, that is the stuff that has given the EDL traction and that has raised its public profile. They've really replaced like the National Front and the BNP in that sense, since the BNP has been rebranded as a legitimate political party that gets time on Question Time. I will be really curious to see where he as a person goes from here, whether he's going to try and become a legitimate politician rather than the role that he has at the moment as more of a he's the king of the obs, basically.
King of the obs. Yeah, I mean, there have been suggestions, obviously, that is what he's going to do, is he's going to go down the electoral route. But actually, having seen what happened to the BNP when they tried to clean themselves up, is that his policies, are still at the very least xenophobic, even if you don't.
Do you think that the right suffers from crazy people being involved?
I think every single major political organisation, I guess the EDL is a minor one, but they do suffer from being put in the same box as nutters. So, for instance, it's very hard for the right to have a sensible position on immigration because there are racist people who oppose immigration. So, and then there's equally problems with the left in that
because I'm thinking of an organisation like UKIP.
Right, yeah.
And we probably should avoid mentioning the two organisations in the same breath because they are very different. The EDL is horrifically xenophobic and UKIP is a legitimate party. But UKIP, as another right-leaning organisation, suffers from endless gaffes by its members.
Yes.
That kind of drags the whole message of the party into the gutter. Do you think that that's something that the EDL and maybe Robinson as a person has suffered too much from them? Do you think that he's just given up and been like...
I don't know, because he always seemed to be at the forefront of the street protests. It didn't seem like the members were going off and doing things without him knowing what was going on. It always seemed as though maybe he wasn't in control,
I actually follow him on Twitter, and it was really fun because I knew whenever there was going to be a riot in London, it was great.
You had to avoid that tube station.
Do you think that they are getting too much attention by the press?
By the press, yeah. To be honest with you, I mean, it's the same thing as whenever there's an incident involving Islamic extremism, they bring on an Islamic extremist to Newsnight, and though the views that person would espouse or pretend not to espouse do not really bear that much relation to the majority of Muslim views in the country. Mm-hmm. It's just that these people get given a platform because they have an alternative voice, and there's this whole thing about balance.
But also because they are doing these massive street protests and causing violence and causing trouble. That's why they are being given a platform. And I worry that sometimes the media rewards that kind of behaviour and so encourages it. I'm kind of talking about them as if they're toddlers.
I mean, do you think that probably is true, but the trouble is that that's less a fault of individual media organisations as it is just a media-driven culture. Mm-hmm. Is that those things are newsworthy, people want to read about them, and therefore they get publicity. If people didn't want to read about them, they wouldn't be published.
Where's the English Communist League? Why aren't they being published? Because they have an alternative.
They don't really do very much, do they? They don't create violent... Like, if you've been to, I actually have been to, a sort of left-wing rally before, and it was quite a big rally. They were, like a proper left-wing.
Yeah. So your face is on file, then?
Probably, yeah. Well, the socialist worker were there giving out newspapers or whatever, and Tony Benton was speaking on a platform, and it was a hall filled with, a couple of thousand people, maybe. And... as far as I'm aware, nobody really covered that because at the end of the day, it's a political rally. It's not that interesting to the majority of people.
And if there had been a fight
at that political rally, a major riot, then it would have been covered.
Do you think that that's ever going to be something that changes?
No, because it's the media-driven culture. Is that all the meeting? It's like in this country we used to have newspapers that covered in detail parliamentary debates, and now we just have soundbites.
Do you think that? How long do you think it's going to be before Tommy Robinson ends up on Question Time?
It really depends what he does from here on in.
It's curious, isn't it? It's going to be exciting.
I don't think he'll fare all that well, to be honest.
I don't know. Honestly, I think he's a charismatic guy.
There is an interview of him and Paxman, I think.
Yeah.
Which you can go and search on YouTube, where you can see how he performs. I don't think he's that articulate, to be honest. By the standards of the EDL, he's Oscar Wilde or whatever.
Yeah.
But,
the Oscar Wilde of the EDL.
Yeah, I mean, that's probably best to leave it at that, don't you think?
So what do you guys think of Tommy Robinson? Do you think that this is really, as the media have said, the decapitation of the EDL? Do you think that the press needs to scale back on the amount that it covers these extremist parties? Please let us know in the comments below. We'll be floating around and...
we'll reply.
Yeah. In the next... the next video.
We're going to be talking about Jack Wilshere and what he said about England.
And football, because we're lads.
Yeah.
Bye. Say goodbye. Just say it.
Bye.
Thank you. Bye.
We used to drink bottle gins and know what I to sing. Eat the trees and on such fun. We used to dance, so take a chance. I lost my mind to young romance. Yeah, I don't mind, I got it back. Half the time I'm waiting for a second chance.